You cannot have a 17-year-old be the best player in the world. That just does not make any sense. I'm sorry. The biggest hype was about Anthony Martial. So we can all agree Yamal is the Don. He's the chief Oga. He's the Olusegun. He's the best player in the world. And I'm sorry to care what anyone says. It is weird. It is odd. And it's wrong for a 17-year-old prepubescent merchant to be the best player in the world. A teenager should not be the best player in the world. I don't care how talented he is, how good he is, how much tech he has. You cannot have a 17-year-old be the best player in the world. That just does not make any sense. I'm sorry. That isn't how things should roll. So he's literally Yamal's generation. But you know what is so crazy? How Endrick is being used and presented is how Yamal should be presented, i.e. really good talent. He's been used sparingly, but he's slowly being eased in. I've been of the mindset that says that I think Endrick is ready now. And I think what the notion we now realize, and Fabregas made this mention in a podcast he was on, is before you respected the older players, the players at their peak, and the younger players had to wait before they could now become starters and they were eased in. The point Fabregas made, and I think is a point I agree, is these young players are ready now. He's probably just ahead of Yamal's generation, but you could still ask him, put him in that younger generation, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the guy's 22 and under. I may squeeze it to 23 and under, but I'm going to argue like 22 and under, those represent the best ballers. And for me, Musiala, we saw him at that World Cup. He was outstanding. We've seen him from Bayern. He's outstanding. And we saw him at the Euros. He is arguably the best dribbler right now. In terms of his ability to beat his man and his dribble success rate, it's one of the highest in the world. Kingsley Coman. So how old is Coman? So Kingsley Coman is 28. Right in the peak years. So the question is, what happened to Kingsley Coman? The big thing, so I've always been a huge fan of Kingsley Coman. Massive fan of him. Injuries racked him up. And I do believe that if not for injuries, he would definitely be one of the best wingers out there. But even if he didn't have those injuries, I still wouldn't put him on the same level as a Yamal or a Musiala. Leroy Sané. You see, I'm going to be a lot harsher with Sané. And so Leroy Sané is also 28. He's also 28 years old. I'm going to be a lot harsher with Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané at Man City, I thought we were looking at a very explosive player. I was one of those guys that said that when Sané was at Man City, I said that Sterling is more effective. Sané is the bigger talent with a higher ceiling and more explosive, that he's got a much brighter future. But for Leroy Sané, I don't know what it is, whether it's his lack of application in training, lack of just application as improving as a player. But when I see him play, I'm like, bro, your decision-making is garbage. Again, I use the example of Yamal because Yamal is a great example. Whenever Yamal receives the ball, every decision he makes, he's thinking about it. This is when to pass. This is when to shoot. The maturity in his brain is insane for a 17-year-old. Sané is 11 years older than him and doesn't have the same level of footballing maturity or composure that Yamal does, which is scary. These are getting interesting as we go further, man. Rashford is 26. 26. So he's not a young player anymore. You are now entering your peak years. And I never rated Rashford. I never rated him. United fans did, but okay, cool. Rashford is the quintessential purple patch merchant. And for me, the issue for Rashford is he never improved. He never got better. For me, he has flatlined completely. Sané, you saw a little bit of a hint at City. A few hints. For Rashford, at no point was I like, okay, this guy has something. You see, I rated Sané. He had a high ceiling. He just disappointed. I never rated Rashford. And I think when we now see how things have now come to be now, I think I've been proven right. Exhibit D, and this is the most interesting one. Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial is 28. Right in his peak years. Remember Monaco? Mbappe. The biggest talent, the people that people were touting the most as this is the next big thing, it wasn't Mbappe. We know how good Mbappe was. That was not the guy that people had hype about. The biggest hype was about Anthony Martial. That was the guy that people said, no, this is the next big thing. This is the next dude. And when United got him, they thought, okay, this is the next Rooney. This is the next Cristiano. This is the next Cantona. To now bring United back. He'll be the leading figure to now bring United back to greatness. Should we say injuries? Maybe. But for me, that's Coman's. So, because I think for everyone, everybody has like a different thing. Coman, injuries. Sané, down to you. You never pushed on. Rashford, he was never really that talented. Martial. I want to use my sixth sense. I feel this is body language tax. Martial doesn't strike me as someone who really cared about wanting to improve. The rest of this vid and gain access to more content crack, think about becoming a Patreon member. Click the link below in the description box or head over to patreon.com/halfhope and gain access to more content crack. Let's ride.